Hey guys, Tony Mayfield. I brought you out to this ridge on our property because, oops, let me get a little better shot here, because I want you to see something. If you look through there, very little green. The green that you're seeing is, juniper, cedar, whatever you want to call it, evergreen trees. And also you're maybe seeing some moss up on the rocks there. But other than that, pretty much everything is dead. Today is March 12th, and this is the first time I've noticed where there's some sunlight, there's a couple of plants finally breaking through the surface. This ground, and I can't speak for my neighbor's ground, but I can say going up over that ridge a quarter mile, it's all just like this. It's just dead. There's really very little forage for the deer. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is because I made a video. I said, I think I want to do a deer plot. I want to, like a food plot, and put some fruit trees in for the wildlife. And I had a few people just kind of say, well, you just want to shoot big deer. And let me say, yeah, of course I want to shoot big deer. I don't want to butcher a deer and get 30 pounds of meat versus 80 pounds of meat. It's the same amount of work, other than hauling them out of the woods. It is nice when they only weigh 100 pounds. But I'm telling you that these deer have a hard life. And I actually have something here to show you. If you look, grab this here, at this deer head. This was a dominant buck here on this land. He ain't big. He's an 8-point buck. He never grew past that. He definitely fought with every deer that he came across. He's broken some tips, and at one point he had a big old hump on his back. And we watched him on game camera for maybe a couple of years, but the neighbor had him on game camera for about 4 years. So we know he was at least 4.5. Actually, I should say we know he's at least 5.5, because he was definitely a 1.5 years old at least when the neighbor started seeing him on camera. And by that point, he was already pushing around the other deer, and he just became the dominant buck in the area. We came down, he looked really good on game camera pictures, and I can tell you that there's just not a lot of big deer around here. There's nothing for him to eat. And but I can tell you, he looked decent. However, let me just give you something to compare him by. I don't know if you could see that one. This one was a good sized deer, 5.5 years old, came from my property about 85 miles from here. Actually, I didn't shoot him or anything. My dog would not leave him alone. He had gotten injured fighting, and the dog just chased him basically until he ran him to death. I couldn't get the dog to stop and leave him alone. But look at this one's leaning up, so it's hard to tell, but look at that difference. This mature buck, 5.5 years old, has good food. This mature buck, 5.5 years old, nothing to eat. Basically, look at the difference. And here's just like a typical deadhead that you'd find, an 8-point. That's probably, again, a 3.5, 4.5 year old buck, maybe 5.5. It's hard to tell. I did get the lower jawbone on that one, and I think he's 4.5. So he was younger than the other one. But what I'm getting at is that's just a great illustration. These deer, they're so small. Their life is really hard on them, think about it. They're having little bitty fawns. I've got fawns out here now that are like the size of my dog. And this is March. They should be just getting close to the same size as mama where they're hard to discern. No, they barely even come up midpoint on her. And those poor things are running from coyotes. They're running from bobcats. They're running from dogs. So we've had some dogs out here that we don't know whose they are. They just show up. I mean, these deer have a hard life. So yes, I want to shoot big deer. I also want to have some happy deer. You know, just make it a place that's not just a place I like, but a place they like as well. If you can think of a way that I can do that, let me know.